Cùng khác vào mình cắt sách.
Quay tôi liền giống không?
Hello, Teresa. Hello, MC. Teresa, can we start off?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
I think, yeah. Hi. Good evening, Teresa. Thank you for being a part of MC's COVID care initiatives to fight COVID.
My pleasure.
So before we go ahead, Teresa, I'll just quickly brief them about you.
Yeah, please.
So that they get to know who you are. So Teresa Wilfred, Miss Teresa Wilfred, she is an experienced and competent counseling psychologist and psychotherapist. She's a certified family counselor from Urban India Ministry, FMC Bangalore. She's trauma focused on cognitive behavior therapist from Medical University of South Carolina, dealing with trauma and grief. So you also hold a diploma, PG diploma in early childhood and learning disability, right?
Yes.
Yes. So she's also a certified Safe Talk therapist focused on suicide prevention from Living Works Australia. She's accredited facilitator for India for couples assessment from Prepare and Enrich India. So she has founded this which are called Tree of Life. That's a center for counseling and psychotherapy. So Teresa specializes in supporting adolescents, adults, couples, and families through the life transition and adjustments, anxiety and depression, trauma and grief, self-harm behavior and addictions by utilizing cognitive, behavioral, mindfulness-based stress reduction, emotion and trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy, and solution-focused approaches. So she has also worked with NGOs and on government projects wherein she was a part of rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration of survivors of human trafficking and child labor victims. She also provides psychological counseling to support women and children at government shelter homes across South India. Presently, she's working as a college counselor with St. Claret College, Bangalore, and is also a member of various statutory boards and committees. She's a resident psychologist with Healthify Me as well. So I think that pretty much covers about yourself, right, Teresa?
Yes, almost.
Thank you, Teresa. So you can take us through. I'm not taking much time. I just wanted to quickly give them a brief about your this one so that they can.
Okay, thank you so much, Suja.
Yeah, you're welcome, Teresa.
Yeah, good evening all and a warm welcome. Thank you so much for having me over. At the outset, I would like to start with a word of appreciation and thanks to the management of Molecular Connections and Ms. Beena Antony for organizing this event. This whole event has the objective of empowering you with strategies to deal with stress. So moving on to the objectives of today's session, that is stress management through power of thoughts. Just give me a minute. Are you able to see my screen, everyone?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Yeah, so just give me a minute. Yeah. So what is stress? So the objective of today's session, it will flow this way. I would be talking about, psychoeducating you about stress, the mechanism of stress, and how it affects us, rather how it hurts us, and how we can overcome power of thoughts. And I would appreciate if the mics are muted. I'll lose my flow of thought.
Shravani, can you please mute yourself? I think all others, please mute yourself.
I would lose my flow of thoughts. That's the reason. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So the objective would be to psychoeducate you on stress, the mechanism of stress, how it hurts us, and how we can overcome it through the power of thoughts. And what is the cognitive behavior cycle of our thoughts, how it affects the way we think, we feel, how our thoughts affect the way we feel and we act, and how we can manage stress through various techniques. And later we will leave the forum open for question answers. So moving on to our first slide, what is stress? What do we understand by stress? So stress is basically a response to situations or events that are uncomfortable, unsafe, uncertain, unpleasant. Okay, anything that makes us uncomfortable, unpleasant, unsafe, threatened, it evokes a response in us, and this is called stress. So this stress has a fancy name today. This stress response has a fancy name today called the fight or flight response. So the events and situations that cause stress, the events that cause the stress are called the stressors. So what are the common stressors that we face in life today? We all face stresses. There's no human being who will say that I have not gone through stress or I do not have stressors in my life. We all go through. It can be trivial to it can be very catastrophic stresses. So right now, all of us are going through, stress across the globe. We have a common issue, that is COVID. The stress that is arising due to COVID, the anxiety that is arising due to COVID, and our negative thoughts are our stresses, the issues that we have with our finances, managing our finances. Either we are on debts, paying up bills on time, and paying up our EMIs, job insecurities, our relationships, our health issues, our interpersonal issues at work, interpersonal issues with our bosses, our performance, our work-life balance. I get to hear from a lot of women now that they're finding it extremely stressful to work from home as well as work at home at the same time. So we all have stressors in our life, and all of us will have different types of stresses. While all of us have stress, different people have different ability to deal with stress. While some people are able to manage very, very catastrophic, stressful events of life, and they are able to move on in life. While some people have very, very dramatic response to extremely trivial stresses of life as well. So our response to stress can be different. Now, as human beings, generally, the perception is stress is kind of a mental event. It's like I feel stress in my mind. I'm feeling stressed. I can't think. I'm tensed. I can't focus. I can't concentrate. This is all we can think when we are feeling stressed. But stress is a whole mind body event. It's a total response of an organization, of a human body to pressures or demands of change. Okay. And it is something we experience in our mind and body. It's a whole body event. It's not like mental event. It's like whole body event. And I'm going to explain to you how in my next slide. So, yeah. So see, when we are experiencing stress, we experience stress at different levels. We experience stress at physical level, and it changes our behavior, and we experience stress at emotional level or psychological level. Okay. So what are the physical symptoms of stress? The physical symptoms of stress, if I'm stressed, I would have, my heart would palpitate. I would have racing heart. I may have shortness of breath, sweaty palm, stomach pain. I generally have butterflies in my stomach. Some may have body aches, sleeping problems. Some may develop insomnia. Some may develop sleep apnea, sleeping difficulty, lack of energy, lack of motivation, trouble concentrating, muscle twitch, frequently falling sick. People who are stressed very often or are stressed for a long period of time, they have a tendency to fall sick frequently to flu, influenza, fever, infections, etc., inflammatory diseases, etc. Now, what are the behavioral symptoms that we experience when we are going through stress? So when we are stressed out of our mind, what kind of behavior comes out of it? We are either very critical of ourselves or we are critical of others. Okay, we become very impatient. We become avoidant. We want to avoid people because we may end up flaring at them, so we become avoidant. Or in other some people seek validation. They are not sure about themselves. They always want people to tell that, yeah, it is okay, it is right. Then you end up procrastinating. When you're stressed, you're not able to focus, you're not able to concentrate. And finally, you end up procrastinating because you're not able to put your mind and body together. And then some of the behaviors that come up when we are extremely stressed, just to overcome stress in the moment, just to overcome that stressful moment in the moment, you end up drinking so that you don't feel the stress in that moment. So some people end up having behaviors where they start drinking, they start smoking, they have an overdrive of cigarette smoking, and some even end up having affairs just to feel that solace. And all of this, further, it only gives you temporary relief from the stress, but it only aggravates your stress because all of these actions will have your consequences. And then some people end up crying, picking up arguments. Like you might have experienced that when you have had a stressful day at work, while you cannot show off your, you cannot be temperamental at your workplace, but when you come back home, you may pick up an argument with your loved ones. You may just flare up at your loved ones. And inability to focus. And then, of course, prone to accidents. If you have been stressed for a long period of time, your mind is not concentrating, there is no focus, you don't get the right kind of perceptions, the right perception that needs to come, and you end up becoming more prone to accidents. And what are the emotional symptoms one experiences when we are stressed? So when we are stressed, I think the first and the most important emotion that one experiences is nervousness. So some kind of unease, nervousness, then feelings of you're afraid, fearful, angry, hopeless, frustrated, you're resentful, you're jealous, you're overwhelmed, sad. It could be different for different people, but these are the different symptoms at different level that we experience. This I'm trying to explain. I have explained it to you, so you understand that stress is just not a mental event. It's not a mind event. It is a mind, body, a whole body event. Okay, and there's a lot of changes that happens in your body. Now, moving on to the mechanism of stress. How does stress function? How does stress operate? This is, I told you earlier, it is a response. What is stress? It's basically a response to situation that may be uncomfortable, uncertain, unpleasant, unsafe. So what is this response and how does it operate in our body? So we are going to learn about the mechanism of stress. We're going to talk about that. So to explain to you about mechanism of stress, I may have to take you to the prehistoric times. Okay, so through millions and so not millions, I would say thousands of years of evolution of humankind, we have made a lot of development. We live in a very comfortable, safe environment. But the prehistoric man, thousands of years ago, thousands of years ago, you know, he lived in an environment which is full of dangers. He was surrounded by dangers all the time. You know, he did not have clothes to cover his body. He had leaves to cover himself, or barks of the tree to cover himself, or he would kill an animal and get the skin of the animal to cover himself. And how would he get food for him? He would have to hunt the animal. He would have to chase the animal and kill the animal, and cook the animal, light a fire and kill the animal, cook and eat. But this chase was not easy. Either it is like he's chasing an animal to kill, or he's getting eaten up by a lion or a tiger. So there was danger all the time. He lived in the wild. Today we are living in very civilized societies which are fully concrete jungle, but he really lived in jungle. It's in the wild, the primitive man. So all the time he was surrounded by danger, and danger was very, very imminent. Okay, so to deal with this danger, the human body made a survival adaptation, which is now in a very fancy term called the fight or flight response. It was a survival adaptation the human beings made, which is called the stress response or the flight or fight response, so that it could, the prehistoric human being could protect himself from the ever existing danger. Okay, so just imagine, even when this prehistoric man, when he had to go to sleep in the night, he could not go to sleep peacefully, because anytime his stress response would be evoked, because any animal could come, any bear could smell and come, any lion, tiger, nocturnal animals. So he was all the time, he had that adaptation on, the stress and the fight and flight response or the survival adaptation that the human being picked up, the prehistoric man picked up, was active. So every time he encountered a danger, a life-threatening situation, just imagine he's being attacked by a lion. So when he's attacked by a lion, immediately the human brain is able to perceive that it is a life-threatening situation. And the human body, the human brain is able to release the chemicals that is needed that will boost the energy of the energy inside the system to deal with that situation. So what were the stress hormones that were released when the prehistoric man was faced with dangers, life-threatening dangers? So the hormones released were epinephrines, norepinephrines, and adrenaline, noradrenalines, cortisols, and many more. What changes would these chemicals do to the body? What they would do to the body was, they would energize the body. They would release more and more blood into, more and more glucose into the blood. So we get more energy to run. So more and more glucose would be produced into the blood, released into the bloodstream. So more energy is pumped into the larger muscles, to the heart, to the brain. So, we are able to run, we are able to chase. And then a lot of other changes that would take up. Our breathing, the airways, they would relax, they would expand in such a way that we could breathe in more oxygen. The more oxygen, the more blood we could pump into the brain. And then what would happen as an adaptation was that our pupils, they would dilate. Our pupils will dilate. All our sense organs would become extremely efficient in that moment of flight and fight response. That was in order so that you can actually sense the danger, you can actually measure the danger, you can anticipate, you can plan immediately. You want the pupils dilate so that you have clarity of vision to see the prey, like you want to plan immediately what is your next action. So your sense organs become extremely efficient in gathering information and passing on to the brain to process it and to make the next plan. And while you're in a fight or flight response, the human body is making an adaptation that, digestion may not be the important task right now. Right now, we are in a war zone. We have to face the danger face on. So digestion is not the important task right now. Maybe filtration is not the important task right now. So, our salivary glands, whenever we are stressed, whenever the stress response is evoked, our salivary glands are inhibited so that, the digestion slows down, because digestion is not an important task when there is a imminent danger that you're facing. Likewise, what happens is that these hormones that is supplied into our body, that is released into the body, these hormones, the stress hormones that are released into the body, what they do is that they would shoot up the blood pressure. They would shoot up the heart rate so that, we are able to move faster, act faster. The body has the energy to deal with the danger situation, to run and to chase and to make a kill. The other adaptation that happened during this time was that, your blood would become thicker, a little more thicker. This adaptation was because if there is a chase and if you are hurt, you should not lose a lot of blood. So your blood would be a little more thicker, or rather cloggy. This was an adaptation, so the blood loss was reduced. So these were the survival adaptations that were made by the prehistoric men when they lived in real life-threatening situations. But moving on to thousands of years of evolution, where human beings have made great discoveries, great inventions, and life has become more simplified in terms of physical aspects. Life has become more simpler. We are no more going for a hunt or a chase. We are ordering food on Zomato. So life is that much more simplified now. But what happens is that in all this, the fight and flight response, the survival response that the human beings had adapted during prehistoric time remains the same even to date. If we are stressed today, the same fight and flight response is evoked, the same chemicals are released into our body, leading to same reactions, same actions, more energy. You're more enhanced, you are able to anticipate, you are able to plan, in that swift moment, your body is energized to deal with it. But while all this is happening, like you imagine, I'm talking to you right now, I hope you're listening to me. So while this is happening, all of our other systems are functioning normally, in the sense, our respiratory system, our digestive system, our immune system, all of them are functioning as usual. They have to function. But if we are stressed, immediately, many systems are compromised or they are slowed down. So first in that is our digestive system, our kidneys, and then moving on, they say that our immune system completely shuts down. Under fight and flight response, under stress, our immune system completely shuts down because it is only geared to deal with stress as a life-threatening danger. It cannot decide whether there's no scale there, whether it is 0 to 10. 10 is maximum danger, do and die situation and 0 is safe, everything is okay. There is no such scale. If a flight and fight response is evoked, then it could be even only a thought that you've had. Most of our stresses today are psychological level. Even that thought can release the fight and flight response in your body. And automatically your immune system is shut down, completely compromised, your digestive system, so many other systems, one after the other. It's a cascading effect and they slow down. So how does stress affect us? Now, if we are stressed for a long period of time, if we are chronically stressed for a long period of time, what happens is that, it's not that we will not experience stress in our life. We all will experience stress in our life. There is no human being who can say that I do not have stress. We all will experience stress in our life. While some stress is brief, some stresses are really, heightened state of stress for a very long period of time. So what happens is that when we are experiencing stress for a long period of time, maybe by long period of time, what I mean is that maybe we are experiencing stress for a whole day. We are experiencing stress for a week. We have been experiencing stress for 1 month, and then we are experiencing stress for 1 year. What is happening? Continuously, these chemicals are released into your body. Jabki your stressors are your thoughts. Your stresses are more on psychological level. How will I deal with it? What will I do? Whether I can achieve this, whether she will leave me. There could be many reasons all of us can have. How will I finish this task? So these stresses, based on your thoughts, your stress response is activated. And there are people who are stressed for continuously for long periods. And imagine, while you're in a stressful mode, your brain is releasing stress hormones into your system. And when your body is receiving these chemicals which shoot up your heartbeat, which shoot up your blood pressure, which release glucose into your system, which are stopping your kidneys not functioning in optimum level, and your digestion is compromised, your immune system is shut down, what is going to happen to you in a long run? Very soon you will develop issues, health issues, life-threatening health issues, cardiovascular issues, diabetes, hypertension, autoimmune disorders, because your whole hormone system, there will be an imbalance because so much of chemical is being pumped. While you are not needing that energy to run, you are no more running, there's no more chase, but you're just sitting and thinking. But these chemicals are released, it's not getting consumed. So chronic stress will lead to lot of unease. It's not only going to lead you to anxiety and depression, but it's also going to lead you to illness, serious illnesses. So moving on to our next slide. So is stress good or bad? This may be another question, because earlier we said that stress was a survival adaptation human beings had made. Survival adaptation. It was something that saved them from every danger that they faced. Okay. So is stress good or bad? Okay. The stress response of fight or flight, every time it is evoked, the whole purpose of that response is to protect us. Now, we all experience, as I said earlier, we experience, brief stress here and there every time in our lives. Just imagine an athlete getting into a race, an athlete getting into a 100-meter sprint. Is he getting into that race while he has other competitors with him? Is he getting into that, getting ready into his position? Is he in a very relaxed mode? Or do you think there is stress? There is short-lived stress that he's experienced right now. That stress is going to, motivate him. That stress, in the sense, is going to activate his sense organs to gather the information that he needs to run at what speed, what is the path that he has to take, how he wants to run, while his body is getting the glucose and the energy into the larger muscles so that he can run faster. So brief stress or acute stress are helpful as they actually improve our performance and they improve our efficiency. Even if you have seen students who are preparing for the exams, under stress, they are able to study well. Under stress, we are all able to perform well. If there is no eustress or acute stress, short, brief stress, then there will be so much boredom in life. We may never meet any targets. We may never have a motivation to do something. Every time we set a goal for ourselves, there is a slight pressure we put on ourselves. There's a slight stress. Oh, I have to do that. And then you are able to finish that because there's a slight stress. There's a brief stress. That is eustress. When under eustress, you are able to perform at your optimal level. You feel energized, you feel focused, and work feels effortless. Okay. While if there is no stress in life, if somebody says there's no stress in life, that means their life is very boring. There's no motivation. You can be depressed if there's no stress at all. Okay. At the same time, if we have chronic stress, okay, or bad stress is called distress. Good stress is eustress, bad stress, that is chronic stress, that is stress experienced over a long period of time, is distress. So heightened stress for a long period of time can lead to unproductive anxiety, depression, and illness. And also it leads to fatigue, exhaustion, and loss of concentration, and finally burnout and illnesses. So that's about good stress and bad stress. Of course, stress is good as long as it's short-lived, it is eustress, and it motivates us to perform well, and it gives us the energy to, energy to do better. Distress will lead to anxiety, depression, and illnesses. I think this we have already touched upon. What happens when we are stressed for a long period of time? These are the sicknesses that we can develop. Our immune system is completely compromised. We can develop autoimmune disorders like rheumatoid arthritis, thyroid issues. There can be hormonal imbalance and inability to concentrate. There can be memory issues, concentration issues. You experience anxiety, mood disorders. And, there's a increased perception of pain. People under stress, they also perceive pain. They can perceive pain more. They feel, everything is hurting. There are more aches in their body. Okay, so that was about stress and how stress affects us. Now, moving on to the power of thoughts. So just give me a minute. Yeah, moving on to the power of thoughts, I would like to start with, few quotes. There is this quote, famous quote by Gautam Buddha, that is, all you are is what you have thought about. And there is another famous quote by Deepak Chopra. This is my favorite, that the best use of imagination is creativity and the worst use of imagination is anxiety. What is imagination? Imagination is nothing but our thoughts. So remember, what we think, that we become. So rather than thinking negative thoughts, pessimistic thoughts, think of, more positive thoughts. Yeah. So our thoughts are very, very profound. What I mean when I say our thoughts are profound is that, they are important generators of our wellness, of our well-being. They, from what we think, either it can take us to the heights of wellness or it can lead us to the depths of depression. I would want to explain how. So when I say heights of wellness, you imagine everything that we see across here in our nature, like the sun, the moon, the stars, the mountains, the seas, the ocean, the water, everything that we are seeing today in the nature, that is the mountains, the valleys, the streams, the water bodies, the landforms, these are created, but they were, in the nature. There's nothing that we have a hand in it. We have not done anything. They're all so beautiful. But the rest of the things that we see today, they're all created by us. Okay. We are all moved to such simplified lives today. Like, we have moved to a world which is only smart and smarter. We have smartphones, smart TVs, smart homes now, smart cars. So we are moving on to a smarter world. But you imagine the prehistoric man, like where was our origin? Look at the prehistoric man. He didn't even have clothes to cover his body. From there to thousands of years of evolution, we have evolved so much. We have made so many inventions and discoveries over time. And how has this come to being? It has come to being because somebody thought a smart TV was possible. Somebody thought a mobile phone was possible. Somebody thought that I could invent electricity. Thomas Alva Edison. So everything, has started at thought level. So what you think has a profound effect on you. So all of the good things that we are seeing, good, bad, we see in this world today, they all have started at thought level. They were perceived at thought level. And from there, they have come to being. They have come to action. There's nothing in this world that has come to action without a thought. Somebody thought about it. Okay? So our thoughts play a major role. So that's what I said about our thoughts. Either they can take us to the heights or they can take us to the depths of depression. When I say depths, what I mean here is our thoughts. Our thoughts can either be very positive, they can help us, motivate us, they can take us to heights. But if look at Gandhiji, for that matter of fact, his non-violence, the thoughts that he had about non-violence. He didn't have thoughts of hatred, but he had thoughts about non-violence, equality. And then see from there how much respect he had and what he could deliver. India got its freedom? Thoughts. So now talking about negative aspect of thoughts. We all experience negative thoughts in life, isn't it? All of us go through negative thoughts. Now, we are able to understand that, on an average, we process up to 60 to 70,000 thoughts. Okay. Now, not all of these thoughts are novel. They're not new thoughts. Most of the thoughts that pass through our mind, they are repetitive thoughts. They're repetitive, they're recurrent, we are ruminating on them, we go back and forth on them. And what are these thoughts? These are kind of negative thoughts. What are negative thoughts? Negative thoughts are thoughts of any bad experience, thoughts of any past experience, thoughts of a loss, thought of betrayal, thoughts of somebody ill-treating you, thoughts of, inequality or any bad experiences, or thoughts about your future, what can go wrong. So our negative thoughts are like we human beings are extremely creative when it comes to negative thoughts. We can just multiply them, we can amplify our negative thoughts, we can turn a mole into a mountain. It could just be an issue, like, okay, I would just want to use this example. Like if somebody says, okay, that person ignored me today. So it must have started with the thought that that person ignored me today. Oh, she had attitude. Oh, maybe that person told something about me, that's why she didn't talk. Oh, she hates me. And then you can just build stories around that negative thought, and then you can just be there. You can play that. It's like a recorder, it starts playing. You play that, then you rewind it, and again you autoplay it. So what happens with negative thoughts is that they become repetitive, they become recurrent, you start ruminating on them, and they occupy your headspace. They take up a lot of your time. And what also happens is that because this particular thought is, thought over again and again and again and again and again, this particular thought, the neural path of this thought becomes extremely strong. It becomes kind of, it also becomes thick. That was they are able to say. So I wanted to touch the topic of neuroplasticity here. So through neuroscience, has made a lot of developments now. They are able to study the brain at molecular level, and they are able to study the brain through various scans that are available to them, MRI, CT scan, more advanced scans, and they're able to understand how we are emoting real time, where the blood supply is more and how our neurons are functioning. And they're able to tell us today that the human brain, processes so many thoughts, and there are millions of neural paths in our brain. And each of these thoughts that are processed, they form a neural path in our brain. And what happens is that, as I said, not every thought is novel. Most of our thoughts are repetitive. So those are kind of the negative thoughts that are repetitive. And these thoughts, because they are revisited again and again and again, they are not only reinforced, they become extremely powerful. They become kind of so reinforced, so thick, that they now become an automatic thought. It's not that you have to get up, you have to think, oh, I have to think about her today. No, it automatically drops in your mind. You wake up, and the moment you're free, you want to think about it. Maybe you're working and you're still thinking in the back of your mind, what all happened, what went wrong, what could have happened. So what happens is that because it is repetitive, recurrent, and we keep ruminating on it, these neural paths in our brain become really thick. They become very reinforced, and they become automatic thoughts. You don't have to put any more efforts to think about those negative thoughts. They are ready-made all the time to drop down for you to keep multiplying. And what happens? What happens is that now I would want to let you know what happens is that I'll just let you know when you're having negative thoughts. I would actually want to touch upon the topic of cognitive behavior cycle, and I'll connect the whole matter together. Now, I want to let you know that our thoughts are responsible for the way we feel and the way we behave. What I mean by this is that every thought, every single thought that we think, it has an emotion to it. There is no thought you say that, no, I'm not feeling anything. I'm not thinking anything. That means you're sleeping. Otherwise, if we are awake, we are thinking something. So if a person has to say, I'm not thinking anything, I would say then you're feeling bored. Likewise, every single thought that goes on in our mind, either it makes us feel good, mad, bad, sad, irritated, happy, excited, it will lead to some feeling, every single thought. And based on the way we feel, if we are happy, if we are sad, if we are happy, how will our behavior be? When we are meeting people, we are more than happy to meet more people. We are more than happy to help. We can concentrate well. We are more motivated to do our work. And as a result of our behavior, the consequences are good. And automatically, when consequences are good, you're again leading to good behavior, good consequences lead to good thoughts. Now, at the same time, if your thoughts are like, oh, I will relate it to COVID, okay? The thought is like, oh, there is COVID now. Everywhere there is COVID. Now, my neighborhood, there are 2 families that have COVID. This is a thought you have. This is the actual thought. This is a fact. Now, on this thought, you're multiplying it, oh my God, there is COVID all over the world. Now the world is going to end. I don't know what will happen. I have to pay my EMI. I don't know what will happen if I get COVID. Whether will I get oxygen? Whether will I get bed? What if I get COVID? What will happen to my family? And then you can just build to a level that the world is coming to an end. You can just keep multiplying that COVID thought. You can just keep multiplying that COVID thought. And when you're having such negative, catastrophic thoughts, what feelings will these thoughts generate? The feelings will be that of fear, extreme anxiety, sadness, depression, hopelessness. When you're feeling depressed, lonely, and you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling, kind of totally depressed, you're feeling anxious, you're so afraid, so fearful. What if you have such feelings and emotions? What will your behavior be? Your behavior will automatically become avoidant. If you're afraid, you will be avoidant. You will be underconfident. You will not be able to concentrate. And these feelings, when you're having such feelings, you tell me, if you're feeling angry, mad, sad, or depressed, anxious, when you're having such feelings, are you feeling relaxed or are you feeling happy? Are you feeling kind of relaxed or are you feeling stressed? If I have to feel, if I have to have feelings of fear, feelings of depression, and the feelings of anxiety, it would automatically take me to stress. I would be stressed out. I will not be relaxed. And as I said, and your emotions also change and your behavior will also change. You will not be able to focus. You will not be able to concentrate. There is fear all the time. There is avoidance. There is sickness. And automatically, when all these things are happening at the behavior level, your thoughts are again going to be more pessimistic. So your thoughts are extremely profound. So they are very, very powerful. They are generators of your well-being. You can take control of them. Be mindful of what you're thinking. It's very important. Now moving on to the negative thoughts. This I wanted to let you know about the thought, feeling, behavior cycle, the cognitive behavior cycle. And also one more thing I want to let you know about this slide is that this pattern cannot be broken at feeling level or behavior level. This pattern can be broken at thought level. The best it is broken at thought level. If you change the way you're thinking, change your perceptions, your feelings will automatically change. And your behavior will be more in control. By changing the way you think, you will be more in control over yourself. Right now, what happens is that every time we give control to negative thoughts, we are just swaying with the thoughts rather than, being mindful of them. What happens is that we lose control over ourselves, our feelings, our behavior. When it is negative thoughts like, oh, this person has been rude to me, this person has betrayed me, or he was like this, or she was like this, or they ill-treated me, they were not just with me, I did not get what I want, what I should have got, what I deserved. When you are having such feelings, such thoughts in your mind, what are the feelings it's going to generate? It's going to generate anger, resentment, animosity, jealousy. And automatically your behavior is going to be that of what? Confrontational. It is going to have an impact on your behavior based on your behavior and the consequence and again the thoughts. So this cycle can be broken best at thought level. And our whole idea should be to break this pattern at thought level by controlling our thoughts. How can you control your thoughts? Again, moving back to the previous slide where I was talking to you about, neuroplasticity of our brain. So while, negative thoughts are kind of quite reinforced, quite strong, kind of quite, ever present kind of a thing. They don't leave us, or rather we don't leave them. Now, how can we overcome it? So neuroscience is able to tell us that the neuroplasticity of human brain is extremely, extremely good. What it means is that while, a path has become very reinforced and strong, we can also, by blocking a certain thought, every time we are able to identify a negative thought, a thought which has been bothering us, a thought which eats up our time, a thought of unforgiveness, a thought of bitterness, a thought of hatred, a thought of anger, a thought of irritation, a thought of a lack of acceptance of a person in your life, a thought of rejection by someone. As long as you are being swayed by these thoughts of past, you are just like you just like to flow with these thoughts. Yeah, she did this to me, or he did this to me, or I deserve this promotion, or I didn't get that project, I deserved it more. And you can just multiply many reasons. You can get into irrational kind of thoughts, what all could have gone wrong. And what happens, again, I said, the path becomes very strong. But how can you overcome it? First is to identify what are the negative patterns of thoughts in my life. First is to identify them, make a journal, write down the negative patterns of thought you're having. Maybe you want to write down the frequency, how many times in a day I'm thinking about them, for how long I thought about them. Okay. Not today, what you did yesterday, maybe you want to write down. Okay, today you want to change. Today you don't want to be the same person. Now, what happens is that once you have identified that this is the negative thought, which is kind of making me depressed, which is taking me to stressful, which is giving me a lot of stress, which is always keeping me in a stressful state of mind, this is a thought which is defeating me. You rationalize the thought yourself. Ask yourself, by me ruminating on the events of the past, is anything going to change? Is it going to make me feel better by just being ruminating on this thought? Is it making me feel better, or is it defeating me? Is it taking me anywhere closer to my goals, or is it defeating me? Is it hurting me? Is it making me sick? Is it making me isolated, lonely, avoidant? If so, if you're able to identify such thoughts, decide that I'm going to block this thought from here on. I'm not going to spend any more time on that thought. So we are moving on to the next thing, that is thought replacement, cognitive replacement or thought replacement. So now that you have identified there is a negative pattern of thought, this is the thought that is killing me in every possible way, emotionally, psychologically, mentally. It is draining me of my energies physically. So I do not want to spend any more time on this thought. But just by thinking, that will not happen, because that is mentally, it has been such a reinforced thought. The neural paths are very strong. Even if you decide, the thought will keep pushing itself down. But if you take a decision that, I'm going to block this thought, and every time I'm going to get this thought, I'm going to self-talk, do a self-talk, tell that I'm not going to think about you, about this thought, because it is self-defeating. Rather, you want to have a thought which you want to replace it with. Maybe you want to have, this is something you have to do, intentionally. You will have to think of a plan, a thought that you want to replace that thought with. So it could be a thought, a visual imagery that, a thought that you are perceiving, which takes you closer to what you want to be, what you would want to achieve in your life. What are your goals in life? Every time you are pumped with that negative thought, you are telling, no, I have no time to think about it. It is, I don't want to be defeated by my own thoughts. Rather, I will take control. I will be mindful of my thoughts, and I'll replace it with a thought which will take me closer to my vision, which will take me closer to my goals, which will take me closer to my success. And it's an intentional, you have to do it intentionally. You have to have a plan for that what is it that I'm going to think. Make a plan, and maybe you really want to visualize, rather than visualizing all the negative things. Visualize, what is it that you would want to see yourself as? What is the kind of personality you want to become? What is the personality that you want to become? Okay, so being mindful of your thoughts. Do not sway with your thoughts, but rather being mindful of them. Okay, now moving on to relaxation techniques. So this is something we all need to practice, and I'm sure all of you must be practicing one of these anyway. But I would want to emphasize most on deep breathing, because this is the easiest that all of us can do, sitting anywhere, anytime. Okay. So, and what is the science behind deep breathing? I don't want to, it's not a scientific way of explaining. I'm just using a metaphor for you to just understand it, in a lighter way. So, when we are deep breathing, what happens is that we are taking in, okay, to explain, I will first talk about our breathing pattern right now. You and me, we are breathing right now. But are we aware that we are breathing? Our bodies are not moving, in such a way that anybody can say that you're breathing. Not even I'm not aware that while I'm talking, the breathing process is automatically happening. But if I say that we are going to now do deep breathing, so that is like, I'm not doing anything. I'm, just focusing on my breath. I'm breathing in deeply, slowly, to the full capacity of my lungs, okay? And then releasing it slowly and steadily. So we can maintain a count here. While breathing in, you want to breathe into the count of 4 and release to the count of 8, okay? Now, while releasing, release it more slowly. Now, if I have to tell you the difference between deep breathing and shallow breathing. Right now, you and me, we are breathing, it's very shallow. It's like, just imagine if I have to give you a bottle of, a 1 liter bottle of Bisleri, a 1 liter water bottle, and I ask you to take the lid off it. So the amount of oxygen that you breathe in while we are talking now, the shallow breathing pattern, maybe it's only the capacity of the lid. But when we do deep breathing, we are breathing in maybe the oxygen that a 1 liter bottle can hold. So that is a difference between the oxygen intake when we are breathing in shallow and when we are deep breathing. And what does oxygen do? All of us know oxygen is the fuel that is used by the heart to pump blood. So the more the oxygen, the more amount of blood is being pumped to the brain. And from the brain, the blood is reaching every nerve ending. And anxiety has so much to do with our nerves. And you know, when every nerve ending is getting the optimum amount of blood that it requires, it signals the body to get into a relaxation mode. That is why it is called a relaxation technique. I hope deep breathing is clear here. There are many techniques and many resources are available on the internet. You can check about deep breathing. And moving on to the next thing, you know, thoughts on the things. Okay, focus your thoughts on things that are in your control. You know, while we are living in a world of uncertainty, we have no control of everything. We can have, as human beings, we only have control over ourselves and our environment. That also, we do not have full control over our environment, but we have control over our body, ourselves. Okay, so focus your thoughts on how you can control your body in the best way possible, manage your body in the best way possible, while all other things, the stressful events, I do not have control of. So what you can do, take care of your sleep. Your body needs rest. Give it 8 hours, give it 8 hours of sleep every day. Have healthy diet. Your body needs nutrition. Exercise daily. Exercise is not only for physical health, but exercise is for mental health also. Because when you exercise, you know, mood boosters are released. It motivates you. It keeps your mind and body relaxed. So exercise is not only for your body, exercise is also for your mental health. And of course, maintain personal hygiene. Now that we are work from home, many people not even feel it necessary to take bath daily. You know, so many things people tell me now in my sessions. So your body is your temple. You know, you reside in your body. So take care of it and it will take you places. But if it falls sick, you have no choice but to be on bed. So take care of your body, okay? And your family, your support system, okay, your friends. So what you can do with them, encourage your family members to express their feelings, to be empathetic. What I mean by empathy here is that I in my sessions, I come across, you know, people tell me that I'm working, but my family expects me that I should come and take care of the child outside. But my work is a high pressure job. I have targets to meet. Likewise, there are so many different situations where somebody tells me that I feel so rejected. My partner doesn't give me time. Or, you know, at workplace, you can have different scenarios. So I would say that encourage each other to express your feelings, have, you know, effective communication skills where you are using I statement to communicate your feelings, not blaming by using you and blaming others, rather using I statement and letting them know that this is how I am feeling. And, you know, be empathetic, be assertive, stand up for yourself. And, you know, of course, this is a time we have to approach COVID appropriate behavior and practice gratitude every day, be empathetic, and be solution focused. While life can be full of problems, we can multiply our problems. Let our focus be on how I can find solution. Okay. So friends, mental health is vital to your overall well-being. Do not ignore it. Do not neglect it. Seek help. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it's a sign that you value yourself and you are paying attention to its needs. So thank you all for your patient listening. I appreciate it and I'm grateful to all of you. And if you have any needs for counseling and therapy, my contact number and email number is there. You can reach out to me. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. So does anyone have any doubts? Okay. No one seemed to have any doubts, or shall we just wait for a few seconds because they need to unmute and then come on video and all. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone. So I think no one seems to have any doubts. So thanks a lot, Teresa.
Yeah,
And definitely they do have doubts. We'll get in touch with you. Probably we'll ask them to send out a mail now that you have shared your mail details. We'll put it in our internal portal as well. So thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Beena, for facilitating this. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Suja. Thank you, Krishna, for being the moderators for this event. Thank you so much once again. Thank you, Beena.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Krishna.
you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Krishna. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.